Right, we're here again for a week in sport. Now, I think we're going to start with I'm not going to say a rant, but let's have an overview of a few different sports. Let's kick off with golf, but not your superstar golfer you might think we're going to actually talk about to start off with. Mr. Wilson, how was your week in your golfing world, mate?
Well, I don't understand how pro athletes do it in terms of like the highs and lows of sporting achievement and how the barriers change. I'm not a great golfer. I did play off about 17, 18. And I went down to the south of England this week and played one of the worst rounds I've ever had. Definitely one of the worst rounds I've had in about 3.5, 4 years. I hit
Nice.
103 at
Ooh,
Seaford Golf Club. Like,
ooh.
not spectacular. And I messaged the guy I'm getting lessons with. I messaged him. I was like, I've got no confidence in anything. I don't want to see a golf ball again until we have a lesson. I I'm almost done with this sport. I can't take the frustration of hitting bad shots and thinking I'm doing everything right and nothing happening. And literally,
I wish I was there for that. I might have had a chance.
oh, major breakdown, major breakdown. I was playing with somebody I didn't know as well, so it was so embarrassing because I hit a great first drive off the first tee, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that 17
Okay.
handicap might be a bit high." And then we got midway through the round, and he was like, "What are you on?" I was like, "Let's not talk about it. Let's not. We're not discussing scores." But I didn't shy away from it. I put it into the app. It's on my handicap. It's an official score. It went down. 24 hours later, go to a different golf club in Surrey on my way home from the South Coast. Not an expensive, nice course in Surrey or anything like that. Play with a mate from work. Came off the course 11 over.
Oh.
I mean, and then suddenly the whole world is right. Everything is glorious. But how can you go? How can you have an almost 30 shot swing in 24 hours? And like for the professional golfers, that's the difference between maybe 5 shots over 2 different rounds and how
It's a
they
bit
deal with that
windy.
level of emotion.
It's windy down the south coast, mate. Maybe it just
It's,
took you off a little bit.
I don't think I've got that as an excuse. I think I'm just like massively erratic and was in a terrible, terrible moment. And I think maybe that just made me so relaxed and not caring about it at all that we came out swinging the next day.
It's
But
hard, mate. It's hard. Golf is a hard one because whether you, whether you got your, tutor there, instructor, whether you've got a caddy there, whatever it is that you've got, even if your mate, like maybe trying to help, you still living in your own head,
mm,
and you can do all the lessons in the world, and then just not going through particular routines or whatever it may be. Once you start to have that bad round, like you said, that is so hard to come out of. I've done it. Gone round a couple of courses. But front nine, lovely, great. Comes to the second part, and you think, yeah, right, I've got through halfway through, and I'm like, I can just keep this up. No, balls are being lost, clubs are being thrown. And it's so hard to get back out. And like you said, you kind of think, I don't want to play again.
yeah.
Let me get the clubs going, gather some dust. So how these players, like you said, how do professionals do it and keep, in that right frame of mind if something does go wrong, whether ball goes out into the rough, deep rough, hit a tree, whatever it may be in the water, how you then come back from that is, yeah,
Well,
that makes you a pro in my eyes.
and the ability, and this is why I like the PGA over Live.
Mm.
Um, Forget all of the Saudi stuff. Just in terms of setup, 4 rounds of golf.
Yeah,
That is such a test to play
yeah,
4 decent rounds of golf and come away and win a tournament.
yeah,
Because you can have one bad round where the wheels go off slightly and you're out of contention.
you're done.
And
Yeah,
so and so what Scotty Scheffler did this week at the Players Championship, when I think it was the Friday, he was getting massages on his neck. Something had been
yeah.
strained on like the 12th hole midway through that round. And he still doesn't let it affect him enough to take him off his game. And on the Sunday, he comes tearing through the pack and puts
Yeah.
himself in the clubhouse with the lead. And eventually, Wyndham Clark has the lip of all lips.
Yeah, it was terrible, mate, for him. You know what I didn't like. I liked, but I didn't like was that automatically people jumped in. Is this the new Tiger Woods? It's like every single time. Now, listen, Tiger has played some rounds where he's hung in there, and then you say that final day, the red jersey comes on, and we see Tiger. But I think this is happening a lot in sport, and I don't know if you agree here, where I think people are comparing people too quickly to the
Mm,
greats. You know, no matter what sport it is, it's so quick for people to talk about. If you talk about football, people are quick to talk about Pele. Oh, he's better than Pele, better than Maradona. Better than certain individuals. Even in the England setup, we're quick to say, "Oh, this person is going to be better than," you
mm.
know, for 5 minutes of work in comparison to the longevity of some of these
Well,
people.
who was it this week that came out and said, I would rather than buy all these players, I'm looking to find the next Mbappe? And it's like, who do you think?
Paul,
Yeah, yeah,
Mr. Radcliffe, wasn't it? Who's just
yeah.
purchased Man United. Yeah,
And I was like, but how easy do you think it is to find an Mbappe? Because that level of talent isn't even perhaps the greatest player that we'll see in our generation, in our
no.
lifetime. And he's a like 1 in a million. So for anybody to think, oh, I'd rather go and find the next Mbappe, it doesn't just happen like that. It is it is a minor miracle if a team like PSG can find that youngster and bring him through, and he's got the right level of mentality at a young age to come through and be that player.
But he again, he did. PSG didn't have that. He started at Monaco, right? So
Yeah, yeah, of
Monaco
course, yeah.
Monaco had him. You know, Wenger tried to get him. Wenger then obviously moved on, and then PSG obviously pounced in once Wenger went. So Wenger was about to take him to Arsenal, right? PSG paid the money. They didn't do any sort of searching for
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and Man United, whilst actually, if you look back historically, Man United have always done pretty well with their youth setup because they were in a fortunate position. 9 times out of 10, they'd either won the league or didn't know they were going to win the league with like 5 games to go. And they'd be playing some of these youngsters so they could free up their players to play either in a Champions League final or an FA Cup final.
Mm.
Man United haven't been in that position. They've actually churned through quite a lot of youngsters. Now everyone's jumping up and down about Maino, and they're saying that this kid is the next best thing, and he should be playing for England. I'm like,
It's just
let's just chill
pause.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
chill
remember what
out.
happened when we took Theo Walcott to the World Cup? I mean, nothing happened because,
Theo, they didn't play him either. They didn't even want
yeah,
to play him in the right. They didn't even want to play him. Like this is the thing. Is like what are we doing? And I think again, like Theo, I thought he's at times you got away with it through his speed, but I feel like he got rushed through it like very quickly. And I feel like we need to peel back. I think everyone needs to just chill out. Like, hey, he's a good youngster. He's mixing it with some really good players. Let me just see if you put him in. I know I don't want to be any disrespectful, but like Brentford, who are not playing very well, if would he still stand out, or is he playing with some great players that allows him to be on that sort of platform? I'm saying if you put Mbappe at Sheffield United, you're going to see Mbappe still.
mm,
There's a cut of a difference, and a lot of people still talking about, people keep asking about Saka. Is he world class? Is Foden? Is he world class? I'm like, let's just relax.
let's
These
wait
guys,
and see.
they're not even mid-20s. I think is where you'll start to see players like, let's see if they're legit.
Mm,
If that what you call a world class player. A world class player to me wins games on their own. Pulls what you've just said there with the golfers. They come rushing through at the end. Winner.
clutch.
Can they do it exactly? Can they do it and then do it regularly over a number of seasons? Because if you get the stat people, everyone wants to look at stats. Well, let's just see. Well, I don't want 2 good seasons. Has he done this for like 5, 6 seasons consistently, putting up those numbers? Now you're ticking everyone's boxes: the eye test, the stat test, and that goes for all sort of sports. People talk about the boxing. People talk about Tyson Fury and being one of the best boxers. I'm like, no.
Uh,
You think Muhammad Ali goes into that fight against Endure and gets put on his butt? No chance.
Unifying all the belts is the thing then, surely, when you get to the heavyweight division. And the trouble with boxing is that politics plays a huge part as well. because all the belts want to have their guy be
Mm,
the next challenger coming through and everything like
yeah.
that. So it is really difficult to do that. But
Mm,
that's why someone like Lennox Lewis stands out more than Tyson Fury in the annals of boxing history, because there was a point where he had all of the belts unified, and that can never be changed. So
no,
unless
that's
Fury
it.
does that, or
What
Joshua won't, but
Lennox Lewis never dodged anyone. You know, this
yeah,
is the thing: is that as much as Tyson Fury, he's a great entertainer, and I'm sure once this is done, he'll probably will be in WWE probably more often than not, because he's that that's that entertainment that he brings. But for him to say that he's always he hasn't dodged a bullet, he hasn't dodged anyone, sorry, at any point. Where he dodged Joshua when they were supposed to fight. This U6 fight, it just seems to keep getting put off until
taking time,
take
yeah,
its time, and that's it. And ultimately, for me, that they're not this era of boxer. In fact, and this is where props to AJ, because AJ's never actually ducked a fight. If you look at everyone
mm.
that he's actually tried, he's fought everyone. He's lost. He's come back, but he's done that, and that's why I probably respect him more than someone like Fury. When you look back at that old era, they didn't dodge anyone. You think anyone that wanted people? The only people that were like dodging were probably ones that didn't want to step up to fight Tyson, like Mike Tyson.
But there's the sidetrack, unfortunately, of all this money that can be made elsewhere now, particularly with boxing and with athletes in general, that we kind of touched
Hmm.
on last week, of that brand that an athlete
Yeah,
has, and showcasing it in the best way to make yourself look great by taking a fight against an Ngannou or something like that. Take the huge payday, have life-changing money, affirm it, set your family up forever, kind of thing. And you know, I'm never going to have that opportunity. I don't think I'll ever be offered, hundreds of millions of dollars for what I do.
yeah,
But it's very hard to turn that sort of money down, and that ability to secure a lifestyle that keeps generations of your family in wealth. And
yeah,
I don't necessarily begrudge them. Like, I don't begrudge the players that have gone on to go to live, for instance. Like, somebody turns around and offers you 450 million to quit the PGA and go and play on live and play less golf, and yeah, all right, fine, cool. I
yeah.
barely have to lift a club. It doesn't matter what I do on the course, as John Rahm is very much finding out. It
Find
will
out.
do in a few weeks when the Masters comes around. And obviously, the breaking news today was that Tiger Woods is on the list now of players at the Masters, which, I don't know. Bringing it back to Tiger and the Scotty Scheffler thing, I think the saddest thing is we're seeing potentially the new Tiger Woods of golf, but he's nowhere near yet. Scotty recognizes that. Like, Tiger had
Yeah,
11 years.
yeah,
Also, he has the record of, I think it's like, I think he lost maybe 2% of tournaments in his career that he was leading going into the final day on Tiger.
it's crazy.
I mean, you're just not touching the records that he
It,
put
it,
down.
it, you know what? Again, and this is where I was talking about the stats and eye test as well. Some of the shots Tiger would pull off, where you're like, "There's no way there's no way you should be going for the fairway. There's no way you get out of trouble at this point." You know,
Mm.
seeing the swings that you know put round the tree when the ball is probably like a foot away from it. You're like,
There's
huh?
the one where it's buried in that rough, and
Yeah.
he takes the pitching wedge for like 160-yard shot, and he swings the bejesus out of it,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
somehow digs it out of the rough and gets it running up to the green. And you're like, that is, nobody else had that in their locker at
Yeah.
that time. And maybe guys do now, but the game has changed and there's more power in the game anyway and stuff. But Tiger was doing it. What I always find interesting as well is golf, Tiger Woods, but people will always say, is this the next Tiger? Basketball, Michael Jordan, but the LeBron, the Kobe debates, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. You get into American football, I guess it's Brady now. It probably
Yeah.
was Montana, but
Yeah.
Brady's kind of usurped everybody with the rings. But we're already talking about, oh, is this a Chiefs dynasty after the Patriots? We've just
Yeah.
got rid of one dynasty, and
Yeah.
apparently we're on to the next one.
The next one. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody does it with ice hockey. Wayne
No.
Gretzky was so good that nobody's name has ever been
No.
mentioned close. Like,
No.
Sidney Crosby got half a kind on Connor McDavid when he got drafted, was like, oh, could this maybe be the next Gretzky? And everyone's like, don't even bother.
Yeah.
Don't try. Like,
Yeah.
hockey fans are just so level headed of like, no, that's the
No.
guy. Everybody else is a pretender. That's the guy. It's the only sport.
It probably actually is. Yeah, it is. You know, because there is no other player. And you know what? Wayne Gretzky's he's that player that even if you don't watch hockey and someone said that name to you, they'll know it.
Mm.
It's just that name. It sticks. It's global. You know, everyone will know him as well for that. And yeah, you're right. The comparison thing obviously does hurt at times because you can be obviously era led, like you said. Like people haven't truly seen Michael Jordan play.
Mm.
You know, it was kind of the back end. You'll see a lot of people then have seen Kobe, but then God rest his soul, where he's probably not in the eye line of people at the moment in that way, other
Well,
than
and Kobe
Jersey.
always said Jordan was better. So it's difficult for the guy who you think is the guy to say, I'm not the guy. If they're saying they're not the guy, you're not the guy,
And and
basically.
and and he said he said he's not anything without him. He was like, this is the guy, like you said, to get to that level. And I do like how like all the youngsters, it's like I want to be LeBron because
Mm.
that's what they know. But LeBron's been able to play a hell of a lot of extra games. The competitiveness in NBA is nowhere near what it was back then, in my opinion. Back then, every game mattered. Every game went through. They played at a certain level. Now it's like, okay, well, we don't need to win every single game to get where we need to be.
Great players sit on the bench during the NBA regular season.
Yeah,
Nobody gets physically manhandled in the paint.
yeah,
Like if you went inside, Patrick Ewing at the Knicks had to fight
yeah,
physically, even at
yeah,
his stature, to get
yeah,
inside and get to the rim
yeah.
because it was a brutal sport at times. There's a little bit of me that kind of misses that from seeing the highlights of the back end of the Jordan era that I kind of got to live through. I kind of wish it wasn't so easy for somebody to just drive the lane and dunk over somebody's head because there's nobody blocking it. No one's
For,
trying at this
for
point.
a non-contact sport, damn. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like, oh, yeah, you have to put yourself about a little
I had
bit.
to
And
pad up on this one a little bit under those
exactly.
vests.
But Allen Iverson, like, if you looked at how he played, like, he's one of my favorite basketball players. Like, he had to be aggressive. Yeah, he
Mm.
wasn't the big in stature either, so it's like he had to. And yeah, I think that game is. I mean, if he was playing in this era, oh, no one would get anywhere near him. He'd be like, this is easy. Like you can't touch me basically at this point. So yeah, I'm not really a fan of it. I like what's going on in golf. I like to see so that it's nice to see like the it's not the same person.
Yeah.
You know, I do like that. It's been quite nice. It is a shame we've lost some top talent to obviously to live. And obviously, yeah, it's not great for the dynasty of golf in a sense. But if you
Mm.
actually look at it and go, you know why they've gone and why they've gone and done it, but yeah, it's a tough one. One player I don't know. You're talking about young players coming through. Alvarez, tennis at the moment. This kid is phenomenal, and I've watched my tennis. I'm from the Andre Agassi era. You know, it was great to see him when he got rid of the locks. It was good for us lads with not much hair actually.
I
So
noticed the beard and chrome dome is an Agassi look, isn't it? I mean,
it is, mate. I'm actually Pete Sampras, Agassi. You know, watching those back then. You know, we had to put up with Tin Henman all them years. You know, like, um, but
nice
you
try,
know,
Tim. Yeah,
yeah, it was
cheers.
nice. Thanks for coming, though, mate. Good rep. You get that
Yeah,
petition,
yeah. Quarterfinals
participation,
is
and
solid. It's solid. Don't worry
yeah,
about it, mate. Yeah,
yeah. Hemman Hill. That you see how quickly they got rid of that when it was
yeah.
Murray Martin or whatever it is. You know, they got rid of that real quick. But you know, it it has been, and now we got spoiled. Federer, Djokovic. Obviously, Murray was still, putting up results as well. Obviously Nadal with what was going on. We had some top talent here, and I'm not going to say Alvarez. I'm not going to be that guy. He's going to be the next one of those guys. But I tell you what, he is showing. There is a whole new era of tennis being played right now. It's a lot of recovery, a lot of you just don't think they're going to go for that shot and they seem to get it. There's a lot more trickery now. And you mentioned about how the game, in golf, the power and the speed is obviously it's turned up a notch. I feel like really it's gone there again. And Alvarez models his game on Nadal, and I think like he's really adapted to that quite a bit. I managed to see him at Queens last year before before Wimbledon, and I didn't really know too much about him at the time. And someone said, "No, hey, come with me now to this court. You need to see this kid." And I was like, "This is we probably are watching the next big thing. Whether he gets to the levels of these other guys, because at the end of the day, all of them put up some serious championships and Grand Slams there. But I do like what I'm having to see, mate. And I honestly, you need to see this kid, and what he's done and what he is doing at this point.
Okay, but don't get me wrong. I'm all for new blood coming through, and I don't want to be the guy that poo-poos everybody, for instance, because but you touched on it a second ago, which is beautiful that my cameras decide to play silly beggars at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
But we'll get the reserve out in a second.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah, okay, yeah.
it what it unfortunately it also does is it brings the sadness that we have to deal with losing those great guys. And I think we're also desperate for somebody to come straight back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask it a moment ago of why are we so desperate to quickly anoint the next one when we're on the way out with the last group?
Mm-hmm.
Because Djokovic, Federer, Nadal, and Murray is without a doubt as good as it will get for a
100%.
foursome in tennis,
100%.
going toe to toe every single Grand Slam. And look, others would throw their name in the hat every so often. It wouldn't always be those four competing against each other in the semi-finals, so it wasn't boring. But 99 times out of 10, it was one of those guys in a Grand Slam, at least in the final, and more often than not, that's who was coming away with it and putting on incredible performances against age and adversity and injuries and everything like that. So to want to go and find the next guy and put that much pressure so early on him, that's, I think, what frustrates me, because Murray came through and it was like, oh, he's a good young Scottish player.
Yeah.
But let's not, it was built off the success that they carved out. Federer came through, won early in his career, obviously in Grand Slams, and everyone's like, "Oh God, this Swiss guy can do it at a young age," and he's doing it now over and over again, over and over again, as opposed to being like, "Oh, that's the next Agassi, that's the next Henman straight away." And I think the world we live in is a bit more reactionary like that, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of talk as well on that, but in terms of like wanting to obviously compare things and say that this era is better as well, and I feel like I think the fans want to be part of that. So that new generation of fan comes through. Oh, our era is the best. Here's our guys, and they want to do that. And this is why, again, like one of the debates I saw is the Liverpool Man City era better than Man United Arsenal, and I cannot see it. Liverpool have won. When obviously Liverpool have won one title, right? One
Thanks for
title.
coming. Yep.
Did they win one? Was it one title, one Champions League?
And domestic cups don't matter anymore. They just don't come into the equation at this point in modern fans, I don't think, which is sad. But yeah,
FA Cup used to mean so much, man.
League and Cup double was the pinnacle.
Oh man, the FA Cup. I mean, but I used to get together. All of us used to get together for my younger teams. We'd always get together for FA Cup Day. As youngsters, pound first goal scorer. Everyone got together. FA Cup Day was like so big. FA Cup was also the last game of the season. Now the FA Cup final is before the season ends, which is again kind of means that they kind of don't care about in the calendar in that respect. But I never understand. Let's say this new era of fan. Oh, we want this. This is us. We're the best. It's like, no, respect what has happened in the past, and these players are still alive. It's not like we're talking 100 years ago. That Man United and Arsenal, and I think Gary Neville absolutely nailed it. 7 seasons back to back was Man United or Arsenal winning it. Man United won it 4 times. Arsenal won it 3 times. I think Man City in that same place have won like 6. Liverpool have won 1.
Yeah, 5-1, I think it is. Yeah, in the 6 seasons. Yeah, it's
so.
But do you know what else? Right, Liverpool and City. It's still there's no animosity.
No,
that's the other thing you have to buy into. Arsenal, United, was potentially a bloodbath if they met on a Monday night football. If you got the lights on a if it was a Saturday 12:30 game, all right, it'd be potentially a little better.
Yeah.
Although having said that, the Van Nistelrooy missed penalty Martin Keown day, I think was a 12:30 kickoff, and
The chop,
but
mate. That was all round the playgrounds.
but it but that's what made it so good
Yeah.
was that Keane wouldn't look in the eyes of Vieira in the tunnel. There was no talking. There was no handshaking before that game because it wasn't just a like football game where they're all pally friendly on social media like they are these days.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was this is to win the league potentially. These 6 points in the two games we meet are to win the league. And F you if you're going to get in the way of us getting those 3 points.
Yeah.
And if we have to, we'll fight dirty. And if we can beat you with class, we'll beat you with class. That doesn't mean we're going to necessarily do that for a full 90 minutes. And you bought into it as well. You believed that the players loved the shirt. It didn't feel like kind of mercenary football of somebody kissing the badge and then 2 weeks later they're going to be at a different
Yeah.
club
Gone.
or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
It was true characters that were at those clubs for basically the longevity of their golden era,
That's it.
which with the rotation of players, you don't get
You
that
don't get
feeling
that.
anymore.
You don't get that. You don't get that. And listen, I'm talking about my beloved Arsenal all day long. This is where it's actually quite nice. We're seeing sort of long-term contracts going out for all of our players at the moment, and it's actually quite nice to see. And it's, I appreciate obviously what the club is obviously doing. Man United are probably a bit off that. Man City have actually, if you Man City, you can't fault them. Have they spent a lot of money? Yes, they had to. They were playing catch up.
Mm.
They were playing catch up. They had to get there. They had to play catch up. To catch Arsenal, Man United, even Chelsea, obviously at the time. Liverpool not so much because their dark days of buying people like Stuart Downing and Charlie Adam, right? But Man City had to do that. If you look at what they do now, they don't actually spend as much as you actually think. And a lot of people now want to jump on this whole net spend. They sell players. They're selling players for
Mm.
good money. They seen Cole Palmer go out. They saw Sterling go out. They still reached. That was almost 100 million just for those two. And Sterling he's coming towards the end now. He's obviously on the tipped the scales now on that side. Cole Palmer is obviously he's unlucky, but he had to go up against Phil Foden, who people are talking about, where he could obviously go to. They're trying to do that, but no one cares. There's no hatred towards Man City for that reason.
Mm.
Like you said, man, the hatred between Arsenal, Man United, and Liverpool, and even Chelsea is there. That is ingrained. That's in your DNA
Yeah.
almost. Like now, Man City doesn't have that. That's why this whole. If it was Arsenal, I'm telling you, if it was Arsenal and Liverpool going at it, you can go back to history. Then you can go back into the 80s of,
Mm.
of them going up against each other. There's still that hatred. I listen. Shout out to Dre because me and Dre will go at it all the time. It's straight up Arsenal, Liverpool. I don't care. I don't like. I do not like Liverpool. I don't. The whole talk of them being this like map. Yes, have you won Champions League? 100%. Tip my hat. Amazing. But don't put yourself in that category where you've won one domestic title, league title in that time. And
A
and
rivalry isn't built on trophies.
no,
A rivalry is built on emotion at the end of
yeah,
the day. And there isn't that antagonistic emotion between Liverpool and City. And people will definitely say that's a good thing. We have a more sanitized view of the game. It's not as aggressive. But you then can't say that the rivalry between those two sides is bigger than what we witnessed back in what us old folk will now say were the glory days of football in the late 90s,
yeah,
early
yeah,
noughties.
yeah,
It just will never be that way
yeah,
because it's too nice. It's so nice and it's clean and it's great to watch. And look, that City Liverpool game the other week was phenomenal
yeah.
for a neutral. It was exactly what, when everybody says the Premier League's the best league in the world, you watch that and you say, yeah, there isn't a league right now that can top that level of quality. But it doesn't have that
100%.
gritty edge either. Not not like Inter against Milan when they walk out in the San Siro. Even that, because the fans bleed that energy suddenly into it. Like that creates it. Or Fiorentina even against Juventus because of the
Big.
transfers of the 90s. It
Yeah,
suddenly
yeah.
becomes an Aggie afternoon.
I've been fortunate enough to do a few. I went to Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid. That was a serious atmosphere. I've done the Milan derby. I mean, San Siro is a different world. That place is rocking. But that is their rivalries. I mean, Fenerbahce and
Trabzon Sport, yeah.
no, that and Trabzonspor. Oh my God! I mean, if you want to talk about hatred, that is crazy.
I don't necessarily condone it, but like that is the raw emotion of football fans jumping on a field and trying to attack opposing players. Like that's a
Jesus,
rivalry. That is a rivalry.
insane. I mean, listen, I used to respect watching even in the Championship, Villa and Birmingham. We saw what
Mhm.
happens. Obviously, Jack Grealish. You know, there, right? That you said that is rivalry. There's history. There's proper history all the way through it. The fans hate each other. The owners will probably go toe to toe if they needed to. You know, it was that. They're the rivalries I really care about. I miss obviously having Sunderland a little bit higher up, seeing them go against Newcastle. They used to be great games to obviously watch. Those tackles that used to go flying in as well. So um, yeah, as I said, they're the rivalries. That's what you want. I think people got to understand that. You talked about the Chiefs being a dynasty. I've said it, and I have been quoted, and I will say it as I say it with the Chiefs Kingdom in the background. But
Sell out, yeah.
I know, proper in it. Yeah, but I feel like, are they going in the right direction for it? Yes, I feel like they've been able to create something where they're able to win with not necessarily the best players in the best positions all the time. They've been like last year, they didn't really have the wide receivers. They brought out Pacheco as the running back, and no one was really putting Pacheco there as top five running back at the end of the day. Like probably the
Mm.
guys that have gone in free agency are probably on paper where they're saying are better than him. So have they gone and done what the Patriots were doing, where we were like, who's this guy? Next man up, and they've been able to do that. They need to go. What did Brady get there? How many did he get? Five or six?
6 and then 7 in with the
Oh, seven
Bucks.
in Tampa. Yeah, six.
But you know what as well, right? This is going to bring all of this together. So you're talking about this new young hot tennis star, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
Do you know what made Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, Murray box office? The greats were battling each other. There was a
Yeah.
rivalry there of
Hmm.
who is the top dog in tennis right now. So this Alcaraz Alvarez coming through needs, you want somebody else coming through
Someone
with
else.
him so you can have that rivalry. In the same way Brady had Manning. On
Yeah.
the other side of the AFC Championship game, so many times it's the Colts, or in the playoffs at some point it's the Colts, and everyone's saying Manning's the best passer in the league right now,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Brady goes and gets 6 rings, and people are still like, yeah, Manning might have been a better quarterback still. He just didn't have the Patriots way kind of thing. That made the dynasty great. It gave them a chip on their shoulder. And then the ones that surpassed the rivalry, that's when you get to all-time greatness. When
Mhm.
Jordan had run through Karl Malone and the Utah Jazz
Done.
twice.
Yeah.
Okay, you're the greatest because even your rival, you've put down twice, 3 times. Gretzky, people came for the throne. Nah, mate,
No
I'm
chance.
there.
Yeah.
It's all good. Tiger Woods. Oh, these other great golfers are coming. No, they're not. Don't worry about it. 11
Yeah.
years at number one, which is the
Crazy.
great thing now about Scotty Scheffler. He's got rivals around him like McIlroy, like Fleetwood
Mm,
on the
mm.
PGA Tour that can compete, that can play with him. He won it by a shot, the players this week. One shot.
One
Otherwise,
shot.
we go
Yeah.
into extra holes kind of thing. So that's the great thing that still exists and needs to be remembered when we're looking at clickbait and talking about, oh, who's the greatest? Who's the next greatest? We need to look at, right, who's the rival? Who is the potential to be that other top dog? Messi had Ronaldo for crying out loud. Like,
Oh, man. Yeah.
that's what made those two so great, is that we were so fortunate to witness arguably the two best players all time, certainly of
Yeah.
the era that we've lived through so far, going head to head, rivaling
Yeah.
each other for records and that competitive nature. It's always there. You've got to have that second person or team.
Documentary. I need that. Ronaldo, Messi. I need them in the same room. I don't care when it is. 5 years time, 10 years time. I need people to see the natural respect between the pair of them.
Hmm.
There is still a rivalry even to this day. Ronaldo, it- someone will talk about Messi. He reads that the headline and he's like, "Look what I'm doing then." He's still got that. He's almost 40 years old.
Still
He
wants it.
still wants it. That documentary, I need that one. I'm seeing a lot of these documentaries out there. That's the one I want to see when they're sat down together, going through everything that they did. But because there's a lot of
What
them out there now, these docs.
that was what we're going to come on to about the new one that's been announced by Netflix, Receiver, focusing on some of the best talent in the NFL. Without a doubt, give me that 5-man starting lineup in my
Yeah,
receiver core, and it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. It doesn't have to be Brady or Manning. You're going at
yeah,
least to a championship game.
yeah,
What Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson,
yeah.
is it Kittle in there as
Kittle,
well?
Kittle's
Yeah,
in
they've got to
there
have
as
a
well.
tight end, obviously, tight end
Yeah,
you and all that kind of stuff. I
yeah.
mean,
Did you say Devontae Adams as well? He was on the
yeah,
first one.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's gonna
it's
be.
it's an all-star lineup.
Oh, and St. Brown. Am I St.
Alan
Brown?
Ross and Brown,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
And I
yeah, yeah.
just okay, I love some of these documentaries, and I love that we get behind the scenes access. But does it not feel like everybody has a documentary? Like LeBron, I think, has cameras around him because there's a LeBron doc coming out. Like any big star has got a doc coming out.
Dog. Yeah, yeah,
And it kind of feels like it's not really a documentary, it's a media spin.
yeah. Yes, yeah. Do you know what? I tell you what, yes, it is. There is two parts to it. What I gotta say, for players, it will help. So Kirk Cousins from the quarterback. If everyone was to describe Kirk and probably explain what he probably does when he gets home, it's pretty damn probably. I mean, I was probably imagining what he did. Didn't know his wife dressed him, but got to find that out. Um,
Yeah, sometimes it's not all good. Yeah.
no, but but what was cool? What I did like is that we saw a small part of it. So we saw when they were winning, they're on the plane, and Darasaur was giving him the chains, and we saw the whole and actually then seeing it behind the scenes of that, I think was quite cool. So I think it's quite nice for the fans to kind of see it all come together. Mariota was obviously in the quarterback as well. Suddenly, just boom, gone. Literally sailed into the wind. What
Hmm.
kind of happened there? This was an opportunity to see a little bit more. We still don't see everything, but it gives people a little bit of time to check yourself a little bit as a fan, because you'll be coming down on the coach, you'll be coming down on the player. Whatever your opinion is of that person, you go hammer and tong to make sure that they're the bad guy. What I do like about some of these docs is it actually gives an opportunity to tell the third part of the story.
Mm. I get
Which I do like.
I 100% agree with you. And that is why, for me, none of these docs should come out until people are retired. Because the documentary series America's Game.
Yeah,
It was initially a documentary series about, I think it was the 10 best Super Bowl winners of all
yeah,
time. It
yeah,
wasn't going to be every single one.
yeah.
And so every single player that they spoke to was removed from the game for at least a few years.
Hmm, hmm.
And some of them, 20 years, 25 years since they'd thought about playing in the NFL. So when they sat down on camera, it didn't matter what they said.
Mm.
There was no kind of, oh, what if my bran flakes don't sell as well after I say this or something like that. There's one guy who said, I could have, done anything, sell insurance. I sell insurance now, but I enjoyed football more because in my insurance job, I sometimes like to do what I did in football, which is when I had a problem, I would use physical violence to solve that problem. And they frown on that in the insurance game that I'm in now. And you're like, that's next level kind of a little bit of
Yeah,
crazy,
yeah,
old school crazy in you, which you probably wouldn't get if he was
yeah.
playing at that time. And that we
That's how
don't get in the ones that are released year after year now, because
Hmm.
there are guys that are still playing in the NFL. They're not going to say, Patrick Mahomes actually borderline asshole to play with.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
I get it, Kermit the Frog.
yeah.
You want to win games, but don't start calling me at 2 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah,
telling me I
yeah.
need to be out there on the training field. We won't get that for another 15, 20 years from players that have played that.
No,
And
that's
that's when the
fair.
juicier nuggets come out. So
Yeah,
while we're
100%.
seeing some stuff behind the scenes, and we are going to see, as the quarterback showed, as Drive to Survive showed, particularly before the big boys got into it. And that's always where I think, oh, if a doc has a big star name, then I get a bit more, oh, you've seen that it's useful and it's worth doing.
Do
So you can
you
kind of manicure it a bit.
do you think that Drive to Survive, when Lewis Hamilton lost the championship, do you think the decision may have been different if there wasn't a documentary?
We're going to come back to this one every week because we spoke about this last week about the Netflix influence. Um, I I don't think it was Netflix. I think it was the grown popularity of the sport. Now, Netflix aided that, but a world title fight that was going down to the wire like that anyway in Formula One, I have to believe, as somebody that just loves sport for the pure competition, that would have attracted almost as many numbers. Drive to Survive aided more casuals to see it even more and then get more into it. But I think that title fight would have attracted that. And so I still think the same thing would have happened.
Okay, and another question for you: Messi or Ronaldo?
It's Messi. It's Messi.
It's Messi.
He's
Why?
the bad guy to me, though. Messi's the bad guy to me. Everybody thinks that Ronaldo's like the moany, cry, evil guy, the wink when he got
Yeah,
Rooney sent off,
yeah,
everything like that. But
yeah,
Messi to me is the bad guy because like Messi's the kid that was on the streets in Buenos Aires, and you know that he wasn't like clean, crisp Lionel Messi. He was like little sod on the streets, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah,
He'll nutmeg you and pick your pocket at the same time, kind of thing, or something like that.
yeah,
And you see that edge in him every so often, but he's very
yeah,
well manicured as the nice guy, the great guy, Lionel Messi. And whenever
yeah,
I see the glimpses of the kind of underground underneath,
yeah,
that's when I'm always like, yeah, at least Ronaldo confronts it. He's like, hey, he's like, Ronaldo's like Tony Montana. Like, I'm the bad guy. He sat in the
yeah.
jacuzzi with the cigar, giving it all that. Messi's the guy that's like, no, I'm a nice guy. Don't worry about it. And just
Yeah,
needling you throughout the game. I bet he's a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
nightmare to play against in that sense.
He is, mate, and you can see that. I always respected Ronaldo a little bit more because I didn't think he had as much natural ability as Messi. I
Mm,
think the game has come a lot easier to Messi. So I, re- it's hard to call. I've always just been more of a fan of Ronaldo because I feel like he had to get, like he had to grow. He had to really get to the level he was in himself. He could have easily been. I'm trying to think of someone that, without disrespecting him. I'm not saying he would have been like Neto that's at Wolves, but he could have been a winger that could have been just a little bit better, and then that's it. Like
yeah, yeah.
that's it. He could have been he could have been Nani. He would have been like Nani at United. He could have easily done that, but his attitude towards the game, himself, his health, and everything he wanted to do, I respect that so much more. Whereas I feel like Messi literally rolled out of bed, kicking, like doing kick ups. That he just able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like he just and if you talk about who's the best football player, as in like natural ability, Messi. There's not a lot of people even going to get close. I just like the journey of what Ronaldo did, where he's played, not shied away from anything. We come back to the boxing thing, didn't shy away from any challenge. Got to forget where was he 35, 36 in Italy, tearing things up, still winning trophies.
Still
What he
helping
did,
Juventus get to a Champions League final. Like,
still able to go and do that. He came back to Man United at what 37,
mm,
still scored 20 goals, 19, 20 goals. If I look at where Messi, no, and again, this is not a disrespect to what Messi done. He's earned his right to maybe put his feet up in Miami, but he's now sitting in Miami playing against players that are maybe the equivalent to like the Championship, maybe if we
yeah.
really got lucky.
Dude, and he's got all of his Barcelona boys coming around him as well. I mean, talk about just I'm gonna make life real cushy for myself. Oi, Louis,
Yeah,
come on,
yeah.
let's come back and just dovetail a little. Joy, come on. Yeah, we can work
Alaba,
you on the wing.
Busquets, Luis Suarez, and himself. Come on, like that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. This is where I respect again the longevity. We talked about longevity. We talked about that hunger, and that. This is where I probably obviously, as I said, for me, I just respected Ronaldo, just that little bit more for me.
Ronaldo has the Jordan disease of
Mm,
everything's a competition. and I've got to beat you.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
think Messi would have been as good as Messi was? Because there's no doubt Ronaldo wouldn't have been
Mm.
Ronaldo without Messi pushing him. But do you think Messi would have been as good as Messi was without Ronaldo pushing him? Or did Ronaldo need Messi more than Messi needs Ronaldo?
Nah, Ronaldo needed Messi more than Messi needed Ronaldo. Because Ronaldo, if you took Messi out of the game, he dealt with Ronaldinho for a bit, gone. Obviously, that if you look at that era of player,
Jail.
yeah, yeah. I just don't see anyone that would have pushed him. He would have just been like, "This is cool." Like he may have even retired at 35 years old. You know, he might have just been being done. But then I still ain't got that World Cup. Looks like Messi's going to get one. I need to try and push. Like he that kept him going and going and going. And that whereas Messi, Bob, he don't care. Like yeah,
Mm.
I, it wouldn't have mattered. You know, he's played it. He was playing in arguably one of the best sides we will see. You know, two generations of Barcelona because, as I said before, it was Eto'o, Ronaldinho, Messi in that as he was coming through. Then those guys went. Um, then obviously you had Suarez and Neymar. You know, he was obviously then a part of that. Those guys went. He still went and stayed with Barca. He went to PSG with what? Who? I mean, what he had Neymar again,
Everything around him.
everything around him,
Yeah.
Mbappe again. He didn't care. He didn't. I
He
don't
did
think
nothing
he.
at PSG as well, because I think
Yeah,
he wasn't pushed. Like,
and I don't think he wanted to leave Barca. Let's be honest, he didn't want to leave
mm.
Barca. He probably would have stayed at Barca. It's just they're thieving little bastards and cheated the system. So that you know
Says the
he
guy
had to leave.
defending Man City's financial processes
Oh, I'm
earlier.
waiting.
Yeah.
Hey, innocent until proven guilty is what I
Yeah.
said. Yeah, I got 115 charges. It doesn't mean they're guilty, apparently. But everyone else gets one charge, and you know, has had points deducted. But
Deshaun Watson
that's for
only
another
needed
day.
like 38 and he was guilty. I mean, Jesus.
Well, that's a whole different topic about charges. We can talk about criminals in sport another day.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, but I think generally, I think at the moment, I think that's one of the problems at the moment. I think is just that yeah, he didn't care. He didn't care. That's what I was saying about his natural ability. Just he didn't really need to push himself that much. Yes, Ronaldo has helped him. Let me just show you. Ronaldo scores a hat trick. Watch what I can do. But it not in the same vein as what it would probably mean to Ronaldo when Messi scored a hat trick.
Mm.
So they both needed each other. They both need each other. I just don't, and this is why people have got to respect both of them and enjoy it because once we've got 2 seasons max of these two, max, maybe even one, and then what? Because I don't want to hear anyone talking about any other player right now on their level because there's not anyone even close.
I think this is the thing as well with sport is
Mm,
everybody's so quick to jump to the next one, the next one.
yeah,
But actually, I quite like looking back and basking just in that greatness that we witnessed.
yeah,
Like, I don't want to take anything away from the Chiefs because what they're doing already in the NFL is
it's
great.
impressive. Yeah, yeah,
But like, Belichick's finally left the Patriots. It's completely over now. The Belichick Kraft Brady thing. I mean, I'm starting that documentary tonight on Apple because that's one I've
going
always
for it.
wanted to see. So I'll come back with a review next week because I'm binge watching that one for sure. And
Yeah,
but it is like we should look back at that in one of the most difficult sports to be consistently good and go, that is an incredible era. Whether you want to
hmm
say it's the
hmm
best or not, that
hmm
is an incredible era.
yeah.
Dallas had that incredible era.
hmm
United and Arsenal had that incredible era. And you shouldn't live in the past, but you definitely shouldn't rush to bring the next piece of greatness.
Fact. Yeah. Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do
Because
it.
you just
And
you just
enjoy
end up
it.
heartbroken as well. Because if you put all that pressure on the next guy to be the next guy and it doesn't come through, like, yeah, what you just
Mm.
look foolish and they've let you down and you're like, oh,
Yeah, I just don't think you can do it. You don't really do it. You know, you said it coming back to the sort of documentary. Are we doing documentary obviously for documentary's sake, or is it like a media spin as well? I do feel like it would be nice to see more. Yeah, like you said, maybe after the season or after they've retired for sure. I would like to see maybe a little bit more of that. We do. I am. the Jose Mourinho one is something that needs to be look the coaches. I
Mm.
don't think coaches get enough airtime after it all. It's always the play. And as I said, there's always, and everyone says it, there's always three parts to a story, right? So I think it's important that some of these coaches get airtime. Belichick, if if we got some, I mean, it would be entertaining, him and his dog probably, but I'm just saying
Oh, that'd be
it's
so good if he had his dog on camera with his
yeah.
voice over the top of it for the whole of the.
I'm gonna have to pitch that to someone. I have to pitch that to someone. We need to get there. We need to make that happen. But yeah, some of them are good. I do like it. I do like as you know, mate. We're in fortunate positions. We're able to speak to some players from different sports at different times, and what you see to when they've put their robotic media hat on, opposed to when that camera's away and you talk. It's so different, and when you get players
Mm.
that do open up a little bit more, it is so refreshing, and it does make a lot of people regret some of their tweets for sure.
Dude, I've got some great off mic moments with some NFL players about like them getting weed over to the London games and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of crazy boys putting some paraphernalia in their bags and stuff
Oh,
that yeah, and like hotel rooms in London, there's one floor where it just stinks out the place and stuff, or they've got a hook up in London and all that kind of thing. There are some good stories like that. And that's why you got I will always say, as I said, America's Game, The Last Dance, the best ones, documentaries, the ones that are removed from it.
yeah.
Although, if you're going to have a manager, Carlo Ancelotti would be the one for me. That
Hey,
documentary.
put me in the room with that guy. Let's get the cigars out. Let's have the conversation. Yeah, he's been and done it everywhere. Again,
Yeah.
where he's gone and done it as well. Again, someone that's just he he's rated, but I don't think people talk about him enough. I think people talk about Pep, people talk about Jose, Sir Alex, Arson. You know, people don't talk about Carlo Ancelotti nowhere near enough as they should. So yeah, that would be a very, very good one to watch for sure. I guess we put out to anyone that's obviously watching and listening is what is a dynasty? And two, what would you say in your lifetime is the biggest rivalry you've seen? Because I don't want it to just be one sport. So, what is the biggest rivalry you've seen? And I'm going to give that back to you, Ollie, to end so people can get a taster. What is the biggest rivalry you've seen in your
As
lifetime?
I think Arsenal United's the biggest one. Like, because I was at that age as well where it's all encompassing,
Yeah,
and the aggression, like two of next level psychopaths in Vieira and Keane. Like, you wouldn't want to mince on a challenge with them at
yeah,
all. Like, I'm
yeah.
getting away from that. And what was the other one? Sorry, the
The dynasty.
Dynasty.
What makes a dynasty?
I'm going to use this is really a difficult one, particularly for NFL teams, because this takes away the Patriots dynasty to some extent.
Okay.
It's three in a row. You win three in a row, like league titles, NFL Super Bowls, Stanley Cups. That's what makes the dynasty.
So
Because
Man
going back,
City.
technically at the moment, it's just we're
This will
living
be
in a
four. This will be
dynasty.
four. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're living in it. I mean, we are though. Like they're nobody's dethroning them right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be close this year, thankfully. But yeah, we're living in a city dynasty in English football. But
Okay.
I think three in a row, because going back to back is so tough. Going back to back to back. You know, the Patriots had a year break between
Yeah.
each of
Yeah.
their triples. They never went triple. They went 2-1.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, let's see. I'll see what people obviously say about that. But yeah, I can see that argument for sure. Like, yeah, that is a tough one. One we haven't mentioned the sport, and I'm going to end with this. And mate, it's easy for me to say Arsenal, Man United, but growing up, generally, one of the biggest things I used to always love because I didn't actually watch the sport enough. But boy, did I get ingrained in the rivalry was England, Australia in the Ashes, no matter what. And I'm talking that era of, Wardy era, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that, wow. It was like that was like you were going to war, and that was country against country. And it was just amazing, no matter what. As I said, I watch cricket. I don't like some of the big events. I don't watch it near enough as maybe what I could do. But when the Ashes is on, I watch it because just that
Yeah.
that rivalry, I absolutely love it. The banter on and off the field, everyone's going at everyone. You can hear sometimes you pick up things off the mic, and you're like, oh, okay, so
Yeah,
you know,
the sledging,
yeah,
yeah, by the wikis.
unbelievable.
The fact that the in England, what was it last time in England, the Ashes, was it at Lords, where the
Yeah,
old
yeah,
guys got chucked out of the room because they were fingersing
yeah, yeah,
at the Aussies after the controversial dismissal and stuff. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
when you can make, and I guess you could argue putting the Ryder Cup would be in there as well, because when you
yeah,
can take such a prim and professional sport that has so many of
yeah,
these kind of cultural rules around it and turn people into arguing,
yeah,
fighting animals
yeah,
around it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is breaking down our society with rivalry, which is kind of great. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll give you that one for sure. The Ashes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, I'm all over it. But let's see what people have to say. Let's see. Maybe the new school are going to try and fight for their corner a little bit. But yeah, mate, a pleasure as always. That has been a week of rivalries and documentaries, I suppose, is where we're going with that one. So yeah, guys, thanks for obviously tuning in and watching. Yeah, make sure you drop obviously a little comment on those rivalries and a dynasty, and we'll catch you next week.